Have you noticed that you just seem to get sick more often? Kids come home sick, you're sick, people at the office are sick. It's like every time you turn around, somebody doesn't feel good. Well, I'm Cheryl Townsley, naturopath and wisdom coach, and I have found that in the last 5 years or since 2020, people seem to just get sick at the drop of a hat, and they don't know why. Well, there's actually a reason why you get sick so often, and it can take a long time to fix all the problems, or you can learn how to work with your brain and your gut to get some relief almost instantly. So you want to stay tuned as I explain the brain-gut connection, how it impacts your blood, how it impacts how you're assimilating all those supplements you're taking that aren't really helping. And then I'm going to give you a solution that's so simple. It's so simple. And the results are immediate. And stay tuned for the stories, because the application of this tool across so many borders is really staggering. So what exactly happens with our health? You see, our health is in our gut. It's down here in this area that some of you carry a whole lot of weight. It's our gut, and the gut talks to the brain, and the brain talks to the gut. Our gut can build up a mucus lining, and in that mucus lining, parasites hang out, and viruses, and fungus, and then there's bacteria. And with all that mucus, all the good food that you may or may not be eating and all the supplements that you may or may not be taking, it doesn't get past the glue. It doesn't get past that mucus. So you don't get any better. And you're stressed and you're overwhelmed. And then the blood's getting thick. Have you heard about more clotting lately since 2020? Thick, clotty blood. And if the blood's like that, so is your lymphatic system. Well, your immunity with all of those issues goes rock bottom, and then you just get sick, and then you take more stuff, and the cycle just continues. So when I was introduced to a tool, at first I thought, I don't know that it could really help with this getting sick all the time routine, until I listened to Dr. Anna Toker, who's a renowned colorectal surgeon. And she talked my language. She understood the brain, the vagus nerve, which is a pathway from the brain down to the gut health, neurology, and detoxification. And it was like, I get it. I get it. And not only do I get it, it's coming from a surgeon in the medical field who is using the tool I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And it's helping her patients, because she puts it on before, during, and after surgeries, so that they don't get sick when they're in the hospital, because that's where a lot of unhealthy people hang out. So what exactly is this tool, and how does it work? Well, the tool is called Defend. It's a super patch. And it didn't make any sense to me until I heard Dr. Toker. And then she went on to explain that if you take a sample of live blood, put it under a microscope, you'll see that clotting blood. And then you put on that little patch, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Go back and look at the blood now, just maybe a minute or two later. The clotting is gone. Now, like, how did that happen? Because it's not a blood thinner. It's not a medication. There's no ingredients. There's no contraindications with any drug you might currently be taking. There's no contraindication with surgery. It's safe enough for pregnant women. That's a big deal. And for children, that's a big deal. And with all their studies, peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo, the placebo score of 0.0001, which means it's a 1 in 1,000 chance of it being a fluke, a placebo. That's the gold standard in medicine. So the research behind this through EEG tests. So you look at the brain, you find a dysfunctional pathway. Immunity has a pathway. When that is dysfunctional and you put on the appropriate patch, you put that pathway into balance. That's like beyond science. This is called breakthrough. And I have seen this work in so many ways. So you have a little Defend patch. It's got a backing on it. So let me find, this is the hardest part. Peel off the backing on this 1.5-inch little patch. And it's got all these little ridges. Think of it as braille. When a blind person puts their fingers over braille, that sensation goes through the nervous system to the brain, and they can read. Well, when you put on a defend patch, all these ridges, when you put it on your skin absorbs that information, just like a QR code, and it instantly goes to that pathway that impacts immunity. Immunity also impacts the blood, it impacts the lymph, and it impacts whether you stay healthy or not. So I want to share some stories of very real people who have had some absolutely amazing results. Because as I've looked at products, literally thousands of products over almost 40 years, tested more than that, things can look good, the marketing can look good, there can be all kinds of information, but I'm always after results. Because if it doesn't produce results, it doesn't matter. When the results are astonishing, you have a paradigm shift like I have. Because now, everything I've learned in these 40 years, I'm able to help people accelerate their healing process. And for all of us, with the stress that we're under, the massive change going on in our world, which is so hard on our brains, we need accelerated healing, not accelerated decline. Let me say that again. Everything in you is screaming for accelerated healing, not more decline. So let's jump into a few stories because they're pretty cool. So I understood that, wow, if you put blood under a microscope before a patch is all cloggy, messy, clots, and you put it on, it clears up, it's like, well, obviously it happens, but is the physical manifestation in the rest of the body rapid? So I have a client and a friend who was flying from Idaho into Colorado, and the guy next to her was just hacking constantly. And she had taken her defend patches with her for her, and she said, "Sir, would you mind if I put a defend patch on you?" And I'm sure he thought she was nuts, but he did. And he only coughed once or twice the remaining hour of the trip. Do you know what that did not only for him and her sitting next to him, but everybody around them? Because you see, on an airplane, you're breathing in every pathogen of every person every 6 seconds. So when you shut down some of that pathogen activity and you help somebody get into homeostasis, that's a game changer. So then I knew it's not one that's just going to take a long time to notice the results. It can happen very, very quickly. So the next one, I came through recently about a 5-week marathon right before the holidays. And what I was doing with decorating, making caramel corn, sugar scrubs, decorating, 3 big events, and seeing clients in life and everything else. Now, in my 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe 60s, that was pretty easy. But in my 70s, at 72, I was like, when I do those things, those marathons, I usually end up getting sick because my body went, you pushed too hard, you didn't take breaks, so this is how your body gets your attention. It lets you get sick so you'll finally take the break you hadn't been doing. And I came through that 5 weeks. I did not get sick at all. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But the next story, this one is powerful. It's a client I've worked with for 10 years, and whenever she's dealing with a health issue, it's her skin reacts. She gets all kinds of skin reactions and inflammation, a lot of parasites. She's had a lot of mold exposure. And so we had gotten to where things were sort of like this. One time she'd come in, it'd be this, and then it would be this, and she started with a couple of other patches, the one for skin, which you can listen to on Lumi. And she was doing another one for her balance because it was a little bit off because she's a little bit older than I am. So she was using Liberty for that. But what kept showing up in the work that I do was malabsorption. She simply wasn't absorbing her nutrients. So I had her on excellent products, her vitamins, her minerals, carbon technology, whole food, the best I've been able to find. But her scores in those areas just weren't getting better. That's called malabsorption. Now remember what I said at the beginning of the video? If you've got a mucus lining in the colon, then your nutrients don't get absorbed, they don't get to the blood starts clotting, the lymph is overwhelmed, and then over time it's going to show up in the skin and other areas and you get sick. So about a month ago, it's maybe 6 weeks ago now, I said, let's play Notice and Discover. What happens if you wear the Defend patch? I tested her. It tested really well. So I said, let's just see what happens. So we didn't change her protocol. I just had her put a Defend patch on. Where do you put it? Basically anywhere. You want to make sure there's no nerve damage, no scar tissue, no hair. So you could put it here. You could put it here on your back. You could put it down in your abdominal area, on your thighs. I think she may have put it on her abdominal area. She came back a month later. You want to hear what happened? All of her scores had gone into balance. All of her minerals and vitamins and nutrients had gone into balance. And we'd been working on that for 10 years. We'd gotten the skin issues to clear up. She'd had so much breakthrough with the mold, with the skin, but a little bit of stress, her skin would start to do this again. So we knew we hadn't gotten to the root. What we hadn't done was gotten to that immune pathway to allow nutrients to assimilate, which I think is one of the big keys. Because if you can assimilate your nutrients and that blood can become healthy and your lymph can become healthy and you're working on your gut, which communicates with your brain, your immunity goes like this. So if you're one of those people that it's like somebody looks at you, you get sick, or everybody at work is sick, and people around you are coughing and hacking and all of that, and kids, runny noses, they get sick, they get fevers. You can put this on a child. You can put one of these patches, just put it on their back where they can't reach it and take it off if they're very young. When a website says you can put this on a pregnant woman, that means it's really safe. And why is it safe? There's no ingredients. None. It's a signal. There's no contraindications for anything. It can be used in a hospital. It is being used in a hospital by a surgeon, and she gets phenomenal results. Her patients don't get sick in the hospital, which is a pretty common occurrence. So what about you? Are you ready to change the picture and let go of being sick and coughing and hacking, not assimilating your nutrients? You know what? Feeling good when people around you are kind of dropping like flies feels pretty good until you realize you could help them. You know, and I see that, and I'm healthy in my 70s. It causes my heart to go, who can I help? Who else can I help feel a little bit better? So if that's you, whether it's for yourself or the people you care about, get back to the person who recommended that you listen and watch this video. Because immunity can change that fast. And if you want more information, go down to the description. Because I truly believe that when it comes to immunity, if it's too hard, it's not easy. And if it's not easy, you're not working with your brain. And if you're not working with your brain and your gut aren't talking, and you're on a very slow, maybe fast decline. So let's turn that around. Let's let your brain and your gut work together. Let's get that brain pathway into balance so you can feel your very best.